please, can you tell us more about yourself?
Uh, all right. I'm a purpose preacher,
Okay.
a leadership coach.
Wow.
I help people to discover themselves,
Mm.
develop themselves, and at the same time give them guidelines on how to deploy their God-given ability to bless humanity and also bring glory to God. And
Wow.
by the grace of God, I am the founder of School of Wisdom.
Wow, wow. You see that the person you are having here today is someone that is vast in knowledge. Like he knows the onions, he knows what he wanted to tell you, and I am very sure that you'll learn a lot today in today's talk show. But before then, I would like you to sit back, take your pen and your papers because you'll learn a lot of things today. You'll learn so many things because today we are speaking, like you see in the flyers, how to balance your spiritual life, purposeful life, your academics, and also your business life. How do you balance these two together? How do you balance your health with your academics? How do you balance your purposeful journey with your academics? Today we'll be discussing so much about it. And during this course of our discussion, our leader here will be telling us few things on how we can balance our spiritual lives with our academics. So today you are welcome to today's talk show. Thank you so much for honoring my invitation.
Thank you.
I do not take it for granted. Thanks a lot. Even though the notice was very short, I am very, very grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Alright, sir. The first question I will be asking today is, why in school? Like, do you focus on school only or you do some other things?
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that question.
You're welcome.
While I was in school, I didn't just focus on my career or my education. I did a lot of things while I was in school. I remember very well that while I was leaving home, coming to school, my mindset then was that I want to join the bad gangs. You understand? but fortunately for me, when I got to school, I got myself in the right hand, and which led me to be actively involved in Christian, what do you call it, activities on campus. I was a member of a fellowship, and I have the privilege of becoming the president while I was in year one.
Wow, if you
Yeah.
are the president in the year one, that should really need you here.
so and year two, because I really want to have a taste of what politics look like on campus, and I know I cannot combine the two at that moment, so I have to drop being a president to vice president,
Wow.
so I can have the opportunity of involving in politics while I was on campus, then still with my career, working the two together, and of course I love football. So
Hey.
I play football while I was in school. Was in school, and I represent my school then. You understand? So
Wow.
I combined
A lot of
things. You
activities
understand?
from politics
Yeah.
to football,
Yeah.
from football to ministry,
Ministry.
church, from church to career, everything all together.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yeah.
You are really multitasker. You really multitask well.
Anyway,
Wow.
Yeah.
So, sir, how do you manage all these with your academics?
Yeah, that's the where when we're talking about prioritizing yourself and all your activities together comes in. I have time for everything. I don't just involved in anything. Now I know the time that I'm supposed to be on campus.
Wow.
I know the time that I'm supposed to be in class. I know the time that I supposed to be in the fellowship. And I know when it calls for involving in politics, when is the time that I'm supposed to be there. Now I always make sure that I'm not finding myself where I'm supposed not to be. You understand? So I have time for everything. So
There is
with that,
time
I was
for
able to
everything.
balance my education with my involvement in politics. Actually, at the time, the politics want to take a lot of my time, but yet I still find time to go to the fellowship. I'll be in the church, and then I have to be on campus, and being a student of fine and applied arts department. Then during my NC days, you can't do. The truth of the matter is that
You have
each
assignments.
class work will represent your CA at the end of the day. So I have to be in class. So I have to put all this together, but I planned everything. I have time for
Wow.
everything. I didn't just do anything anyhow. I followed my schedules. I didn't just play around.
So what we can say here is that he was able to manage his time well, and also he said there is time for everything. Even the Bible says that there is time for everything, and under the earth rather. So there is time to play, there is time to eat, there is time to do anything you want to do on this earth. Okay, so what can you say about spiritual life and academic?
Yeah, these are two major important aspects of life. And when we're talking about spiritual life, for everyone that is going to make impact in this life, the spiritual life is very, very important. It, as we hear, I mean, the level at which we relate with God will determine what we are going to receive from Him. So that's why we cannot play with spiritual life. And when we're talking about spiritual life, it's not about my physique or what people could say about me carrying Bibles or whatever I'm carrying,
Speaking
and
in
speaking in tongues,
tongues.
and it's all about spiritual activities that builds up our inner man, that makes you valuable and can make God to just come up and say, this is my child, this is my son, this is my daughter. You understand? And when we are talking about our academics, we are talking about education. What builds us up physically, that make us relevant in this world. There are some people that are spiritually strong, but they are earthly useless.
Spiritually strong and earthly
And they are earthly useless.
Indeed.
You understand? Because they have all that we can talk about. But when you look at them, you know that these people are not relevant. They are not making impact. And that is the aspect of education.
Full
That
of
is,
activity.
they have everything. You can see them jumping up. They can blow tongues. But when it comes to making more impact in the society, when it comes to becoming an influencer in their area, because they didn't have the training that they're supposed to have. So these two, major aspect of life is very, very important: spiritual life and academics, and we cannot just separate them from each other.
So you can hear that you cannot separate spiritual life and academic. You cannot separate because they are very important phase, and there is a very important phase that you must pass through. So you cannot separate it from. Can also separate one from the other. Well, thank you very much for that. So can you my next question is on, can we say that, okay, like, is it very easy to balance these two, like spiritual life and academic? Because to me, it got to a time when I was in 100 level, I was busy with ministry, then my school work. Truly, I was in class and I was doing ministry work too. But there is one thing that affected me, and I would say there's one thing that affected me is my health.
Okay.
I was actually balancing my academic with my ministry, but I couldn't balance my own body. My health is actually requesting for so many things. Like, so at the long run, I was unable to do anything again because when my health fails, I couldn't balance any again.
Yeah.
So I actually failed and I was not able to do anything again. So can we just balance the two together?
Yes. When it comes to balancing the two, that calls for planning, proper planning. Now, I was talking about spiritual activities the other time.
Yeah.
Now, you have time for everything. You have your schedules. You have what you are to do at this moment at a particular time. There is a time for me to be on campus. That time is not meant for me to sit back at home doing something else. Or I'm just assuming that I'm trying to build up my spiritual capacity, and I sit back at home instead of being in class. You understand? So I know the time for class, and of course you cannot have the whole of the day sitting down in the class. You still have some time that you have break. You have some time that you don't have free lecture. That period can still be used to build up yourself. And in fact, like you said the other time, like when your health fails
My
you.
health fails.
Now, most time during those free period, we still find something else to do instead of taking time to rest a bit before taking up another assignment. And you know that after all, we still bounce back to working on that spiritual capacity. You still want to build up yourself, one, and then we want to go out and dish out what you have received to people. So all of this time you put everything, so we can balance it. And how can we balance it? Have time for everything. You have your schedules, you have your plans, you have your, this is what I want to achieve today, this is what I'm going to run today, and this is what I'm going to achieve, and you work towards all those things that you have put together. You don't just come up like I'm waking up in the morning, I don't have a plan. So just wake up, I'm just thinking I'm just because I want to receive the highest level of anointing. So and I'm going to pray in tongues for 8 hours.
8 hours, good girl.
And you wake up like 6 a.m. in the morning, and you have lecture, and you just assume that you receive all those capacity. When you get to class, you begin to blow tongues or what? So that's why you have to plan your time, have everything well planned, and then you follow them. So if you have your plan, you will discover that it will be easier for you to balance both your spiritual life and your academics.
Wow, so everything is just going back to time management.
Yes.
So if you know how to balance your time, you will be able to balance what you want to do. Like if you can manage your time well, you will be able to know what you want to do. Like you need to do this, you need to do this. Just like you know that you just wake up early in the morning and you start speaking in context. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, the next question is that is it always good to discover one's purpose before balancing the two? Like discovering one's purpose before balancing the two. And also, can you quickly, like briefly, help us on how to discover one's purpose?
Yeah, okay.
We are going outside the box.
Well, the first question, is it good to discover one's purpose before balancing the two?
Like
Yes. You know, actually, the journey starts with our spiritual life. It all starts with our spiritual life, because we grow up being trained to understand some things about God, the supreme being. Now everybody just believes this is God and this is what you are supposed to do. So we come up with that level. Though many don't understand what it takes at the early stage. But by the time we are getting to a stage of understanding life, it is always good to identify or discover one's purpose. That is what will help an individual to balance both the spiritual life and academics, because that person already has a blueprint of where he or she is going, and that is going to be the drive to push him or her to see how do I need to build up my spiritual capacity, and then at what level do I want to get to when it comes to my career. So, and then you think about it, okay, this is where I'm going, I need to achieve this, and I need to achieve the other aspect of life. So you put the two together because there is a purpose in which you are pursuing. There is something that has become your drive, moving you forward. So that is why there is a need to have that basic knowledge of where you are going, why God really creates you, and then work towards it. And in working towards it, it will now help your spiritual life and your academics to balance up. Now, back to the second question, how to discover one's purpose. You know, that's a very beautiful question anyway. And you know, it's a question that to some level we have seen people getting confused about this issue.
Yes.
And that makes a lot of people to like talking ill of many people that we call motivational speakers. Like you just push me, you tell me this, and I'm not even getting results. And the problem actually is not the motivational speakers. The problem is the structure that many people are following. Like from my own direction, when it comes to purpose discovery, I tell people there are two ways to look out for your purpose. Number one, I tell people you can look inside. Number two, you can look outside. And looking outside there, I always put it to the level like you look up to God. Now, looking inside gives you the clue of some things that you can do. And that is an aspect where most motivational speaker comes up. Like, check out what you think you do, that you love, your inner strength, what gives you joy, what you can do. And at the end of the day, you know, this is where the confusion comes. A lot of people have like 1, 2, 3 things that they can do that gives them joy. Then the question will now be, which of these will be my purpose? That's why so many people are getting confused. Now, let me use a very good example of King David. He was, ever before he was born, there was an announcement that somebody like him will become a king. So he was not alive when the king, on throne then was rejected. Now, when he came up into the system, he has the grace of playing musical instruments. Let's assume that he was a musician, a psalmist, and at the same time he learned leadership as a shepherd boy. You understand? Now, while he was doing all of these things, there might be a kind of confusion, like because he was a psalmist, he might be thinking that he will eventually become a musician.
A musician, yes.
And that was not exactly what God really raised him for. God raised him to become a king. But actually, it was that talent that led him to the palace to be trained about the palace affairs. Now, this is where I'm going. Your talent, most often, is just going to be a channel at which it will help your purpose in life to be faster up. Like, your talent is just going to be like a channel at which you will achieve your purpose. A lot of people can now. I love playing football. Now, the question I asked myself at the time was, do I really want to fulfill purpose being a footballer? Now, how do I fulfill purpose as a footballer? Now, and I check it out as like, if I'm playing football and people are enjoying my skill, people love it and the likes, how does that bless humanity? That's the question. Now, to now fulfill purpose from there, I can find a particular part of me that is calling for my attention. Like, there are a lot of people that are struggling out there. I need to help them. Now, the return from my playing football can be a channel by which I can help those people to live a better life. Then I'm fulfilling a particular purpose. You understand now? Yes, so many people get confused because they see a lot of things that they can do. Then they ask the question of, how can this be my purpose? So the best way that I always preach is to look up to God, because He's the manufacturer. He understands exactly why He has created you. So when you ask Him question of who am I, then He will give you the picture of who you are. Then give you the blueprint of the essence of your coming to this world. So when it comes to discovery, self-discovery or purpose discovery, the best option is to look up to God. Every other one can bring confusion. And it can make you to begin to look at people that are telling you how to find them like they are just playing you. But the truth remains that all of those things can work anyway. Because they are going to give you the clue of what you are capable of doing. And they will give you the picture of what can help you to actually fulfill your purpose. But the best way not to be confused is to look up to God. Ask Him questions about your life and He will answer the question.
Wow, thank you very much, sir, about that. So the first thing you should do is looking up to God, the author and the finisher of your faith. The Bible said before you were born, He knew you.
Yes.
He knew you. He knew why He created you. And He has tested you right before He even... But he created you. When He created you, He tested you. So after He tested you, already know what you need to do. And also, what I want you to know about this is that if you look outside if you look at your environment or outside to discover your purpose, it is only ambition that is there. But if you look up to God, you discover the reason why you are created. So don't forget why the question comes up. Is it good to discover one's purpose before balancing the two? Like He said, yes. If you don't discover your purpose, you find it hard because you'll be doing different things. It's not what you're supposed to do. You'll be doing so many things that you are not supposed to do at all. So it's better to discover one's purpose before you balance the two. And even before going, it will be the best even before going to school, because you already know that, okay, this is what I am created for. Let's say you are in counseling line. It's good for you to go to guidance and counseling. It will help you and it will help your career, it will help your life. Okay, we are not talking about that today. Thank you very much for that. So we have another question here. How do I do when I have class and my spirit asks me to go for evangelism? Hey!
Oh, wow. I'm having class and my spirit is leading me to go for evangelism. Well, I'll be very careful to answer this question. You understand? Because one has to be very careful sometimes. God can work in diverse ways. You understand? But at the same time, one should be very careful of saying my spirit. Why actually it is something else that is driving the person to do it. But let's assume the person is having the leading. Like in the spirit that I want to go for evangelism. If it is God, it will be good. You understand? So if it is God leading that person to go for that evangelism, yes, the person can take a step to do that. I'm having a class. This is not examination. This is not test. It's a class. Now, but why going, that kind of a person should make an arrangement. what's that arrangement, you have friends around you, you have the mindset that when you go and you come back, you make sure you have the update of what has happened in the class, so that you not be left out totally of what has happened in the class. You can get the notes, you can have information, because you are feeling it is God leading you to go for that assignment. Because if you don't go at the end of the day, it might result to something else. But if it is not, if you are not sure it is God, if it is just like stories I heard about people, I read books, people who leave their class and they go for this, and because of that you feel like you also want to do the same thing, that person may live to regret that. So if it is God, there is no problem about that. But a person must make a plan B. And the plan B is you find a way of getting information about what's happened in the class and update yourself of everything that has happened in the class.
Getting updated, like knowing what has happened. If God actually lead you, if it's God that led you to go for evangelism, you can actually find a way of getting an update from the class and also getting notes and all that. But if it's not God that led you to do it, just go to your
you must
class,
be very sure it is God.
listen to your lecturer, like. And most time, they see it as competition to some people, because there's some people that be like, okay, bro, John is going for evangelism, let me also go. Sister Lagbaja is going for evangelism, let me also go.
They are working for God.
So thank you very much for that again, sir. So the next question I'll be asking you is, what about me being zealous? What about me being zealous for God's work? And I felt like putting a stop to schooling. Like, I'm zealous about God's work. I want to do what God wants me to do. Like, I want to do what God asked me to do. Like, God called me to do something. Like, God asked me that I should go and... Well, let's say God said I should go for evangelism.
Okay.
Or probably I had my purpose. I discovered my purpose. And after discovering my purpose, I knew that, okay, but the burden is coming that leave school, go and do my work. And I've heard of some pastor that said the Lord said you should leave school and just go ahead with your career and ministry. Okay. Can we now say that the person put stop to schooling to focus on the ministry?
Wow. That I would say that to me, that's a dangerous game. Putting a stop to schooling, because the truth of the matter remains that we are still in this world, and to become more relevant in this life, there are some things you don't toy with, there are some things you don't play with. You understand? So one have to be very careful. Now, being zealous, there are a lot of zeals there are people that are full of zeals but did not have knowledge. They might be, most time when you receive a kind of burden, it might be pushing you to move on, let me keep going. One have to be very careful, because not all the revelation or vision that you receive is meant for a particular that moment that you receive it. So you have to be wise enough to know when did God really want you to do this assignment. God might be speaking to you while you are still on campus, still in school, and that assignment is not meant for that moment. So for you to now jump out and say, I'm going, is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. So one have to be very, very careful. So if you are being zealous, and you felt because you are being zealous, you want to go out there and live your career, it is dangerous. So I will advise that such a person should wait patiently, seek God's face, and also build up that career, because the career will eventually help that ministry. And if you jump out now, do you know the set of people that are going to involve in the assignment you are going out to do? Do you know where you will eventually end up? Many people that have done this in the past, I see some of them going back to school at the end of the day.
Yes.
They still go back because they know they will lag behind. Because there are some things that their colleagues, people that are at the same level are achieving that they will not be able to achieve. There are some places those people will get to, they will not be able to get to that place. So it is not wise enough to leave your career and say, because I'm zealous about the assignment given to me and I'm going to pursue that assignment, I'm leaving my school. I know the trend at the moment that people are just like a school na scam. And they're just like, we just need money, let's just go out and get this done. And many of them are living to regret it today. They cannot come out openly now and tell people that the step I took the other time, I regret doing it. Now, so it is not wise enough. If you are zealous about that assignment, you have to tell yourself, calm down. Calm down. So you learn more and understand, build up your career and build up the ministry. The two can work together. In fact, if you are even if you are making a mistake in that particular course you are taking at that very moment, you can still go back and still build on it and get something reasonable from that assignment you are doing. So it is not wise for a person to leave his or her career because of zeal to pursue what he or she has discovered about him or herself.
It is not wise to leave the zeal, to leave
your
career and go ahead to pursue what God actually wants. No, God, to me, I think God actually wants you to be in school at that particular point in time. Like you said, there is time for everything. If God actually wants you to be a success, to be successful in life, then He actually wants you to go to school. Though it's not, again, school is not the only place you can succeed in life.
It's not a dominant factor for success.
Yes. But at least if God actually wants you to be in school at this point in time, you will be. Can you just say because you had a revelation or a vision when you are in KG, you now said you are not going to school again? That point, you should have a rethink. Okay, if God actually want me to go, like He said, you need to just calm down. Look at the voice. Is it from God or your own
voice? Yes.
Or is your own voice? Is it from God? Is it God that actually?
Or pressure from around.
Yes, and
like, you are doing this thing. This thing is nice. You can do it better than this if you leave your career. Some people will even advise that if you go out there, you become great. People will know you more, and it's a lie.
So you have to just do something. You have to look at the voice that is speaking to you. Is it the voice of God? If it's actually the voice of God, good. And if it's actually the voice of God, you have to sit down, calm down, and believe that there is time for everything.
Of course.
You need to focus on your school, your academics now. When you are done, since schooling is just 4 years, or even 5
if it's 7 years.
Even if it's 7 years. It will finish one day.
Of course.
And when you are true, you can actually focus on your full-time ministry. But going there is actually leaving your school academics and going for ministry is actually something that is not really cannot be helpful to you at this stage and at this era that we are in. We are in a global era.
Of course.
And this time it is what you
Everything
have.
is changing. Yes.
Like the school is calm, but still yet people are still boasting of their certificates, and they can still say, okay, I have this, and I can be able to speak at this place.
Yeah.
So in all, you have to look at the voice that is speaking. Like he said, hope is not prayer. Social media prayer. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to blow. I want people to know me.
Yeah. Wow.
Thank you so much for this. Really appreciate. I do not take it for granted.
Yeah.
Okay, while we are here, I hope you've learned 1 or 2 things from everything said since when we started this show. I know that you've got 1 or 2 things that is very important to you. You need to know how to balance everything. You need to know that there is time for everything. You need to understand the fact that you are supposed to be at this place at this time, and there's nothing you want to do about it. You are supposed to discover your purpose even before going to school. And even if you have not discovered it before going to school, or you're just working at the working force of your church or ministry, you need to understand that you need to discover why God created you. So you won't just do anything at any point in time. So you won't just do anything that you want. So you'll be able to know that you need to balance some things. And also, like he said you need to know your to-do list. Like, don't just wake up in the morning and just okay, I want to speak in tongues for 8 hours. I want to it's funny. I want to speak in tongues for 8 hours. I want to be strong in the Lord. I want to get out and people will know that. All right, so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Okay, before we go today, I would like to ask this question: that how do we balance our spiritual life with academics?
Yeah, I've mentioned few points the other time.
Yes,
that. when we are talking about spiritual life, one, you already have a focus. You know where you are going, and you know what you want to achieve, and you know the level, the spiritual capacity that will carry you to that assignment you are going for. So one of the things you need to do is you have to plan yourself. Like I said the other time, you may feel like you want to blow tongues for 8 hours. There will be time for that.
Yeah.
There will be a time that you don't need to go to school. Then you are on break. You can go for a retreat and build up yourself. if it is time where you need to be in class, now you have to reduce that time. You know, you have to build up yourself through your study life, your Bible study life. You have to pray. You have to involve in other activities. You plan that. Then you know that, okay, for today you are having lecture by 8 o'clock in the morning, and then till 4 o'clock you will not be free. Then you know that for that day there is no other thing you have to do than to be in school. So then after getting back home, you need to take time to rest. Instead of going around visiting people, doing some things that are not necessary, you take time to rest, go back to some things that you have learned. Then you still have like 2-3 hours again in a day, or just to plan yourself. You can still take time to pray or do some other activities. By doing so, you see that you will not be lagging behind in any of the activities. You are focusing on your career, and at the same time you are building your spiritual capacity. So by the time people are getting more reasonable in their career and useless in their spiritual strength, you will be strong spiritually and at the same time useful when it comes to your career, when it comes to your studies. Now they are mentioning people that are coming out to become first in their career, becoming the best in their studies. You are being mentioned. Wow. And then they are talking about some people that are strong spiritually, that can feed people with spiritual meal. They are still being mentioned. We have a lot of people now in the society are fathers of faith today. You mention people like a professor being a pastor, a doctor, a lawyer being a pastor, and they are doing fine. And some of them are still practicing. And why some are not, didn't have the time to practice anyway. But you will see the content of their career manifesting in their spiritual strength. You understand? So you can balance the two. Just have a to-do list, follow them, and then you will see yourself doing exploit as a person that really want to achieve something great in life. So it is something very that we can achieve if one really want to. And like I want to wrap up by saying that you must be deliberate about everything. This will not happen by accident. No miracle will happen. It is what you build up that you will experience happening in your life. So if you are not building up yourself spiritually, if you are not building yourself career-wise, you cannot achieve whatever you wish to achieve if you are not building up yourself.
So you cannot. Please repeat that statement.
I said if you are going to become effective, you cannot be better than what you have built up within yourself.
Yes, so
it
starts with
you. It starts with you. You have to be deliberate about it. You have to be deliberate. It will not happen by accident. Some people just feel like God is a God of miracle. Yes, but God is not a magician. There are some things He's supposed to do. If you are not doing them, it will not happen. So you build up yourself to become relevant.
Wow, I hope you've learned. I know you've learned so many things on this. I know you've learned on how to balance this, and I know you've learned from what he said. Okay, sir, before we leave today, can you please help us to advise youth in their 20s? Like, let's say you come across any youth in their 20s. What's your advice to them? What do you wish to tell them?
If I have the privilege of meeting young people at that level, my advice to them is be intentional about life. That is the best time to build up a strong future. Don't waste it. Work more on yourself, develop yourself, and build up yourself spiritually. Because a time will come when you will be filled up with activities like you get up, you become married, you have children, as a lady you have husband to take care of, and all that other things now. So that person at that level is a period that an individual is supposed to build up a capacity that will be strong enough to carry on in the future. So I will tell youth at that level to build up strengths at that moment, develop and build up some things that will help in the future, so that you will not use your old age to be doing what you're supposed to do while you are still very young.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. I do not take it for granted. Thank you for sharing from your cup of wisdom, and thank you for sharing out of your plate of knowledge. I pray that more grace and more anointing to you in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for having us today. We really do not take it for granted. Don't forget to like and comment. And if you have any question on this, please drop it in the comment section. We will always attend to it anytime and any day. And also don't forget to follow our page MET Online TV, and also don't forget to always be at alert. Anytime on Friday we'll be here for another talk, and as you know, next week we'll be having relationship matters, we'll have relationship talk, and it will be very interesting. So come with a lot of questions, come with your questions, come with your friends, invite your friend, let them know about this program. Thank you so much for having us today. We really do not take it for granted. I love you and I love you too. So can you please say bye to the audience?
Bye.
All right, so bye.